Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are going to dive into the Malaysian stock market. Now, this isn't just any market. It's this really fascinating mix of modern finance and deep, deep traditions. We're going to break down how it all works, what makes it so unique on the world stage, and, of course, how technology is changing everything. Ready? Let's jump in.
Okay, let's start with a really fundamental question, one that's at the heart of pretty much any economy. You've got a great idea, right? A company with a game-changing product. So, how does that idea get the money it needs to actually grow? You know, to build things, to hire people, to make it a reality.
Well, a big part of the answer is something called securities. Think of them as tradable pieces of a company. When you buy a stock or a share, you're not just getting a piece of paper. Nope. You're literally buying a tiny slice of that company. You're helping to fund its growth, and in return, you get a stake in its future. Pretty cool, right? And that's where the stock market comes in. It's basically a giant organized marketplace. It's the place that connects those companies that are hungry for cash with people like you and me, investors, who have money and are looking to grow it. It's the hub where all this buying and selling can happen in a safe and structured way.
So here's something that's really interesting. This marketplace, it's not just one big chaotic trading floor. It's actually split into two very different worlds, and each one has a super important job to do. We call them the primary and the secondary markets.
Think of this as the life cycle of a stock. It all begins in the primary market. This is where a company creates brand new shares and sells them directly to investors for the very first time. It's literally where a stock is born, and it's how the company raises that initial cash. Then, once those shares are out in the wild, they move over to the secondary market. This is where you and I come in, buying and selling those existing shares from each other. That's the day-to-day trading and buzz that we all think of as the market.
Now, you might be thinking, who makes sure all this is fair? Great question. Running the whole show is the stock exchange. You can think of it as the referee. Its main job, its legal duty in fact, is to make sure the game is played by the rules and that the market is orderly and fair for absolutely everyone.
Okay, so that's the general idea. But how does this all work specifically in Malaysia? Well, the main arena for all this action is the National Stock Exchange, which is called Bursa Malaysia.
And Bursa Malaysia isn't some one-size-fits-all deal. It's actually really cleverly structured to help out companies at all different stages of their journey. It makes sure there's a good fit for everyone, from the tiny startups to the huge established players. The best way to think about it is like different sports leagues. You've got the main market, that's the big leagues, for the huge established corporations. Then you have the ACE market, which is kind of like a launch pad for up-and-coming companies with super high growth potential. And finally, there's the LEAP market, which is designed to be a really accessible path for promising small and medium-sized businesses to get the funding they need to grow.
So you add all of those up, and what do you get? As of early 2020, we're talking about almost 1,000 companies. From the absolute giants all the way down to ambitious startups, they're all using the Malaysian stock market to get funded and really to power the whole national economy. That's a lot of businesses.
All right, but here's where the Malaysian market gets real unique on a global scale. It's the deep, deep integration of Islamic finance. And I want to be clear, this is not just some niche feature or an add-on. It is core to its very identity.
And look at this. We're not talking about a small slice of the pie. The Islamic capital market, or ICM, makes up over 60% of Malaysia's entire capital market. That's huge. It's basically a complete parallel system that runs entirely on Sharia principles, and it brings in investors from all across the globe.
So how does a company get classified as Sharia compliant? Well, it's a pretty rigorous process. A special Sharia advisory council screens every company to make sure its main business avoids activities that aren't allowed under Sharia law. We're talking about things like interest-based finance, gambling, and making or selling non-halal products, among others. Okay, now let's talk about the future. Because, just like everywhere else in the world, technology is completely transforming the trading game in Malaysia. It's opening up a whole new frontier for every single type of investor.
First, and maybe the biggest one, is online trading. I mean, this was a total game changer, right? It put the power of the stock market literally into the hands of anyone with an internet connection. All those old barriers, gone. Suddenly, investing became faster, way cheaper, and it gave regular people direct control over their own money.
Next up, we've got something called algorithmic trading. This is where it gets a little more high-tech. Basically, you've got powerful computer programs making trades automatically.
They follow a set of coded rules based on things like price, timing, and volume, and they do it at speeds that, let's be honest, no human could ever match.
And that brings us to robo-advisors. This is another huge one for making investing more accessible. Think of it as a digital financial advisor. These platforms use smart algorithms to build and manage an investment portfolio just for you, based on your goals. And the best part? It's often way cheaper than a traditional human advisor.
So when you put it all together, technology is making markets more open than they've ever been in history. The old walls are just crumbling down. And for a place as unique as Malaysia with this amazing blend of global tech and deep-rooted principles, well, the big question isn't who can invest anymore. The real question is, how will you choose to engage? The future of investing is here, and it's open for business.